Hello, and welcome back to Let's Play Dungeons & Dragons Warriors of the Eternal Sun, with me, Dr. J. The time has finally come. The time to advance to the Beastman Caves in the north, the first of the story dungeons, and begin advancing the plot. Before that, however, as is quickly becoming custom, let us go ahead and do a bit of a mechanical dive and bring up the monster stats of the monsters that we fought in the previous episode to continue filling out our bestiary. Now what I've done here is I've brought up the hint book versions of the stats on the left side of the screen, and the official pen and paper BX versions of the same monsters on the right side of the screen. Both because I think the comparison is interesting, and because there is some information that's missing in the hint book stats, particularly the chance of monsters to hit your characters, their 2-hit modifier, which is actually really critical information to know because your chance to hit is a really critical component of your offensive output in this game, because as you've seen, this is a game where you miss a lot. It's not like some RPGs where the default assumption is that you hit most of the time. Now, I am suddenly noticing a pattern as I look at these stats side by side. As we discussed previously, in official BX D&D, monsters have a D8 hit die by default. In other words, they roll an 8-sided die for their hit die, and then they just have a certain quantity of those that they roll for their hit points. And you can see that by the fact that the Minotaur, the BX Minotaur on the right, which has 6 hit dice, its average hit point value is given as 27, which is what you would get for the average value if you're rolling 8-sided dice. However, the Minotaur on the left says that its hit points are from 6 to 36. That is the stat spread you would get if you had 6 6-sided dice instead of 6 8-sided dice. I'm beginning to wonder if a lot of the monsters in this game, maybe all of them for all I know, actually use a D6 instead of a D8 hit die. So that's something that's really interesting that I didn't realize until I started doing this playthrough. The one other thing I'd like to call attention to is that the stats on the right actually do give the monsters 2 hit bonuses. Now, here's a point of interest. In the original BX D&D rules, you actually didn't have a simple 2 hit bonus, like you have a +5 chance to hit. Nor did you even have the Thaco, which is shown here. Thaco, by the way, which is actually from Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, stands for 2-hit armor class 0, and it means that is the value you have to roll on a d20 in order to hit a target whose armor class is 0. And from that you can calculate what you'd have to roll to hit any other armor class as well. But in original BX D&D, it didn't use either of those. You actually had to look up your chance to hit different armor classes per level, based on your level, on a table. But eventually people started to realize that as long as you're using a consistent formula, it's actually a lot easier to just give people a flat number that they can always apply instead of making them look up the values in a table. And so what that means is I'm not actually pulling these official BX statistics out of an official BX rulebook. Rather, I'm pulling them from Old School Essentials, which is a clone of the BX D&D rules, but repackaged and rewritten to be more clear and potentially more accessible to a modern audience. But they are the same rules. It is a faithful reproduction. It just presents the information differently. And so we can see, for example, that Minotaurs have a +5 2-hit bonus, or a 2-hit armor class 0 value of 14. And so that means, for example, that when they were attacking Lucia when she had, I think, an armor class of 1, they had to roll a 13 or better on a d20 in order to hit her, which is a less than 50% chance of connecting. So that's why they were missing her so often. Anyway, so I guess that's enough of a dive into the mechanics for this episode. Now let's go ahead and get back into the action. I'm going to begin making my way toward the Beastman Caves in the northwest. But first, let's role play this out a little bit. This is a role-playing game, after all. What is the current situation? Our civilization just nearly got genocided by a goblin horde, and the situation looked completely hopeless. When suddenly, without warning or explanation, we were teleported into a completely alien, extremely hostile new land surrounded by monsters. So although we avoided immediate extermination, the situation still looks very dire. It's no surprise that the Duke wants us to find allies who can help us get settled in this new land and help secure us against the monster attacks that we're enduring. So far, that mission has not gone well. The only thing remotely resembling a sentient species that we've encountered are the Beastmen, who just seem crazed with rage and totally not open to reason, and the Minotaurs in the secret dungeon that we explored to the southwest, which likewise were just a bunch of savages only interested in killing and eating us. So right now, our charter is not looking promising, but we're going to the Beastman Caves basically because we have no other leads. But make no mistake, we are going there expecting that we're probably going to have to fight, even if we're hoping to find allies. And I guess we're just hoping that through exploration we might find something more promising. Something that can be helpful to the Duke and to our people. And so that's our mindset, our very pessimistic mindset as we embark on this journey. Oh, crap, I just walked right into that and wasn't prepared. So we can see that it gets first attack when we're not ready to hit it with a ranged attack. Luckily, it missed us, and it's just a single flying viper. So probably nothing to be too frightened of. And Dimsdale with the kill. Cleanly cuts it in half with his magic axe. So, depending on how long the journey takes, back to Lucia and Draven being the ones who are worried about crossing the bridge. Okay, so we made it here with very minimal encounters. These are the Beastman Cave. Alright, so the Beastmen, spoiler alert, they're just going to attack us as soon as we step into the caves. From the way the game presents it, you could also interpret this as we storm the Beastman Caves, just killing everything in sight. Some people kind of seem to interpret the game that way, that our party is just going around killing everybody we encounter, but considering our mission, that doesn't make any sense. The way that I interpret what's happening is we're going around trying to talk to people, but they just keep attacking us without being willing to open negotiations at all. And so we just keep having to defend ourselves against everything attacking us everywhere we go. That interpretation makes a lot more sense to me, but the game's general sparsity of cutscenes and very sparse storytelling kind of doesn't make it abundantly clear that that's what's happening. It's kind of open to interpretation, I guess. Whoa! I spent so long talking that we're going to get attacked by a huge Beastman. This is what I was talking about, how the Beastman are just genetically unstable and take many forms, and including wildly different sizes. This guy's armor class must be pretty good, because we're missing a lot. Good old Lucia, Elven Archer, with that ranged attack. Actually, yeah, Grelden's strong enough. Get in there closer, buddy. Dimsdale gets the kill and levels up. Perfect timing. Alright, you know what? I've been babbling enough. I'm going to save, we're going to go in there, the Beastmen are going to attack us, and we're going to be forced to kill them all. Because they're trying to kill us. Probably have us for dinner. We barge into a Beastman Warrior's cave, and down he goes before he gets a chance to do anything. We take some leather charts that we think Marmillion would like to see. And it looks like Draven picked up a shield scroll. We have no real use for that, so we're going to sell it. I'm going to bump against all the walls looking for secret doors because I don't remember where they all are. I kind of like the Beastman caves because, man, we keep getting engaged by huge Beastmen. Which makes sense around the Beastman caves, but we're making things interesting. Just trying to move from one hole to another. I like the Beastman caves. I think they're an interesting dungeon because they're actually a multi-level series of interconnected mini dungeons, which is kind of a cool idea. Ooh. Oh, wow. He managed to land 2 hits on Dimsdale, despite Dimsdale having a pretty solid armor class. Either he got lucky or he's got a heck of a 2-hit bonus. We are not doing well against this guy, are we? Another level up for Greldin. Greldin achieves 4th level. Man, level ups are coming fast and furious. Let's go ahead and rest again and review Greldin's... Lucia, I didn't want you to scribe shield. I wanted to sell that. Oh well. Life goes on. First world problems. Okay, now that Greldin's gained a level, he now has access to 2nd level spells. There's not as many of these. There's Bless, which improves our party's chance to hit. Blight, which does the opposite, so you use it on enemies. Resist Fire, which does what it says. And Silence 15-foot radius, which can cause enemy spellcasters to be unable to cast spells. Very situational, but can be useful in a few specific circumstances. I'm going to memorize Bless, because Bless is an incredibly good spell. Dimsdale's 2nd level up, his hit point roll was much poorer, but his first one was so good that it evens out. Alright, now I don't know exactly how the game handles Bless's duration in terms of when you travel between indoors and outdoors. There is a chance that it wears off as soon as you step outside. For that reason, I waited until we stepped inside, and I'm going to cast it now. Just in case if I cast it outside, it wore off immediately or something when we came in. Alright, we made mincemeat of those beastmen. The ground slopes sharply to the west. That's the game's way of telling you that there is a change in elevation. So this is going to take us up to the next plateau up. It has to tell us that through text because the uniform graphics cannot convey an elevation change. And so we've actually changed elevation by stepping through there. We are now on a higher level. That is almost certainly, yeah, just a non-magical axe. And here we are, up on level 2. The axe sells for so little, I'm just going to drop it. And now for the next hole over. We have stumbled into a tribal war party. They're right up in our grill. Let's take them out. Draven took a hit from behind. They're flanking us, hitting us from multiple sides. However, they're pretty weak, so the situation is still under control. Greldin took a hit as well. I'm going to pause a moment to toss out some heals. Definitely the thing about this game that has aged the worst is the awkward controls. Feels like a waste to throw down a heal for just 3 hit points, so The shield has worn off. Oh, right, because I rested. Silly me. Let's recast it then. There. If we're going to get hit from behind, we want to keep Draven protected. Now let's ready his magic missile. His mighty 1d4+1 magic missile. There are more beastmen in the next room. Well, there were more beastmen in the next room. Oh, there's another one. They're like a conga line of death. They just line up to be taken down. We have uncovered gold and artifacts, which I think gets us experience points, because in old school Dungeons & Dragons, you got experience points for finding treasure. And Draven picked up a Scroll of Darkness, which, as I mentioned before, darkness is a hard disable, so it's not a bad spell at all. I think that's all there is to be found in this little mini dungeon, this little cave. I don't care about the Warhammer. Not even worth selling. Our party is still in reasonably good shape. We're going to continue exploring. Let's see what we find on the next level up. Smoke from a fire clouds our vision. It's not real smart to be burning a fire in a poorly ventilated indoor area. We fall into a rough-hewn pit filled with sharp rocks. So this is the one downside of not having a thief in the party. There are traps that we're just going to stumble into, whereas a thief would be able to detect and disarm some of them. So that is an argument for including a thief in your party. So many useless. A bronze-skinned woman snarls and attacks. We can barely see a warrior woman through the haze. So, the first time I ever played this game, I didn't realize that this woman wasn't also a beastman. But she's not. She's a human. And beastmen definitely can't be confused for humans. She is, in fact, an Azcan woman. Azcan are a civilization from the world of Mystara. I think another extinct civilization. As you would guess from their name, they are based on Aztecs. We discover some gold and turquoise jewelry worth about 300 gold pieces. Very nice. So far, this is going pretty well. The enemies haven't been too threatening. But yeah, that is the downside of not having a thief. There's going to be some traps that the thief might be able to help us avoid if we had one. But they're not such a big threat that I wouldn't rather have the elf in my party instead for the added combination of fighting and magical power. I think that's overall going to be a lot more beneficial. I wouldn't say it's at all wrong to play with a thief in your party, though. I think that's a perfectly valid choice. So those guys are waiting around the corner to attack us, and it looks like they're not going to come to us. So let's just step around the corner and wreck their faces. Lieutenant. I question whether the extremely savage beastmen are organized and disciplined enough to have a rank like Lieutenant. That seems a little questionable to me. Alright, Dimsdale's down 10 hit points, so I'm going to throw down my other Cure Light Wounds on him. So, Cleric is proving somewhat useful in the healing role, but again, we're getting more benefit out of the extra damage he's providing us than anything else. A large beastman rushes from the shadows and shouts, "Uglankor kill!" So this is kind of the first boss, Uklangor. He is, I guess, the chief of this particular beastman tribe. And I just cornered myself because I've got captains behind me and Draven's down. That was disastrous that I was trying to step away from Uklangor. Oh, God, his name is hard to say. Uklangor. But there were captains behind me, so I got surrounded by Uklangor on one side and the captains on the other. And as a result, we've lost Draven. He's down. No more experience for him on this journey. We're going to have to go back and get him revived. But Lucia's gotten another level up, and she got a more respectable number of hit points this time. A tangled mass of vines blocks the northern passage. Maybe Marmillion could help us. So this is a mildly awkward plot point. There's a lot of walls in the game that look exactly like this. They're just a hole with a bunch of vines in it. But this particular hole with vines in it is special. The game alerts you to that fact with this text. And thankfully, it says maybe Marmillion could help us because you need to go back to Marmillion and tell him about this. Without this little text hint, I don't know how on earth you would ever know to do that except by just trying it randomly. But why you couldn't just cut your way through these vines, the game never explains. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And the way that Marmillion is going to help us bypass those vines makes even less sense. So sometimes the game just puts very arbitrary roadblocks in your path. Whoa, whoa, whoa! We just got a whole bunch of stuff. I wasn't even able to keep track of it all. Let's bring up the inventory and see if we can identify all the new things we just received. Actually, although I'm not going to drop anything... transfer an item. That'll be a good one. We have a +1 spear, which we don't care about. We're going to sell that for some good gold. Spell scrolls of light, entangle, and detect magic. Entangle is a ridiculously overpowered spell. It is another hard disable, but it's even better than light and darkness because it just renders the target completely helpless. And it's a tier 2 spell, which means that your casters need to be 3rd level in order to cast it. And once you can use this spell to disable just about practically anything in the game, including monsters worth insane amounts of experience points, and then just beat on them. It's a pretty cheesy but effective way to grind for levels if you have the inclination or need to do so. Another +1 spear that we'll just sell. And looks like that's about it. I'm going to go ahead and give the detect magic to Draven. He currently can't do anything with it since he's dead, but I think I'm going to want him to scribe it. Maybe the entangle as well, and I'll keep the light on Lucia. It's not necessarily obvious how to divide up my spells, but I think I'm going to generally give more to Draven, because once Draven is out of spells, he's pretty helpless and pathetic, whereas Lucia can fight pretty well even when she's exhausted her magic. Can I rest now? No, because there are monsters nearby. Interesting. Where are they? Probably on the other side of the vines. So I'm going to have to go outside to rest. Okay, Lucia scribes the light scroll. Okay, she's just scribing... Wait. Draven is scribing scrolls even though he's dead? Sure. I'm very confused by what just happened. Anyway. Fine. Lucia gets entangled then. That wouldn't have necessarily been my preference, but it'll work. And Magic Missile's damage output just isn't very impressive, so I'm going to go ahead and give her Light and Darkness as well. And Greldon can't learn any additional spells yet. Alright, now we're all healed up. One more hole to check. Let's see what's in here. Your lungs burn and your eyes water from the stench of smoldering herbs, and that did a little damage to us, it seems. A grunt-like chant echoes from the northern passage, so that's the one in this direction. So we'll go there last, actually. Oh, and here are some giant rats. It says, the walls of this room are covered in strange runes drawn with coral. So this text is hinting to us that this is the abode of some kind of shaman. And it looks like we're out of directions to check, so... Grulop. Some kind of beastman shaman. Grulop is dead. Well, that was anticlimactic. It will take a strong person to clear the rocks to the north. Well, thanks to his gauntlets of ogre power, Dimsdale has a strength of 18, so no problem. The gauntlets give you the strength to clear the rocks. And on the other side, we find more treasure. A scroll of protection from evil, a +1 sword. We'll sell that, because we already have plenty of magical weaponry. And with that, I think we have found everything that there is to find here in the Beastman Caves. So we made a lot of interesting discoveries, actually. The Beastmen are still too savage to be reasoned with and just want to kill us. We're not going to be able to ally with them. We found a strange map we can bring to Marmillion. We are blocked by vines that we can't just cut through for reasons unexplained. Marmillion might be able to help us with that. We found a human woman living with all the beastmen, and we appear to have killed the local beastman chief, Uklangor. So, mission failed in the sense that we weren't able to secure allies, but otherwise, we've done well. Hopefully the Duke will be pleased and will understand that we're doing our best, and it's not our fault that the Beastmen are too crazy to want to be our friends. So now let's go ahead and head back to town and report... Oh my goodness, enemies. A panther and a huge Beastman. Alright, let's make use of these new spells, shall we? I'm going to entangle the huge Beastman. That will render him helpless. Entangle is just ridiculously overpowered. Apparently I'm too far away for Entangle, so never mind. Guess that's a very short-range spell. How about Light? Okay, let's blind the Panther then. Okay, that's Panther dealt with. Greldon, ready your sling and give that Panther a rock to the head. Or miss pathetically, your choice. Alright, now am I close enough to entangle this thing? Good grief. Fine. Oh, it is then? We'll see his armor class doing a decent job protecting her from the Beastman's attacks. And Dimsdale gets a solid hit in on the Panther. Now, please entangle this guy. It's point blank range. Good job. And now we have the enemies at our mercy. They are disabled. Debuffs in this game are very overpowered, which is a pretty interesting contrast to a lot of RPGs, where oftentimes debuffs are not very good and not necessarily worth the player's time compared to damaging spells. In Warriors of the Eternal Sun, it is almost the opposite situation, where you can see how pathetically underpowered Magic Missile was and caused light wounds. But then we get these disable spells that just completely render the enemy unable to defend themselves at all. And we can just slaughter them at our leisure. I should probably rest to get some spells back in between fights, but to some degree resting constantly feels kind of cheesy. I don't think it's necessary either. I think with our magical equipment and our levels that we can handle whatever the game will throw at us on our journey back to the keep. I do like all the changes in music as you move from one area to the next and how they all have different moods. It really helps convey a sense of changing. Whoa, look at this mess of enemies coming at us. This is a little dangerous with Draven down, and I haven't rested, so I don't have my disables all ready to go, but I do have one left. Let's go ahead and fling a darkness into the eyes of this hill giant. Actually, I'm going to do the grizzly bear. I almost think it might be scarier. And good, takes care of him. Now let's beat the crap out of the hill giant. And then we'll be able to kill the bear at our leisure. Dang it, dang it. I wanted to target the beast man. That was a complete mistake. Now let's see it. Target the correct thing. There you go. That's the threat. Ooh, he's got 21 hit points left. This guy rolled a lot of hit points on his hit dice. We've got Dimsdale on one side, Lucia on the other. Greldon coming up with the flank all. Oh my goodness. All attacking from all directions, but Lucia is now in a world of hurt as she just took a boulder, clearly a glancing blow, which nonetheless practically killed her in one hit. I think that it is definitely time to bring out the cure spells. Don't worry, Lucia, Greldon's got you. So, as soon as he takes one step closer, I swear the range on some of these spells. 3 hit points regained, and that's what I was saying about the cleric's surprising lack of healing ability. He did not give Lucia back nearly enough hit points to save her from that. And especially you need to consider, the cleric doesn't get any new healing spells at the 2nd or 3rd tier of magic. It's not until I think the 4th tier that you get Cure Serious Wounds, which means that these pathetic little Cure Light Wounds spells, these first level little heals, these are all Greldon is going to get for the longest time. So I absolutely stand by my statement that clerics are pretty lackluster healers in BX D&D. I actually like BX D&D. I think it's pretty playable, but it shows its age in a variety of ways, and cleric's bizarre limited healing capability is one of those ways. Tigers are scary because they get to attack so many times. And now Greldon's in a world of hurt. Even though healing didn't save me at all last time, I'm going to give it another try. Alright, that was a little better. Well, so much for that. What is that thing's attack bonus? Either its attack bonus is just crazy, or it was getting really lucky on those rolls. Okay. The situation is now suboptimal. Looks like Dimsdale's going to be making his way back alone, carrying the bodies of his friends. Well, as long as somebody makes it back, right? Okay, no. Well, what are these, though? Regular beastmen. Probably a war party coming to retaliate for our destruction of their warrens. But, I'm not going to fight a group of 3 beastmen with just one character. Even if with his level and equipment he should be able to handle them, I'm not going to risk it. I fumble with the controls a lot in this game. I do apologize for that. Bringing up the menu when I don't mean to, going to the wrong menu, all kinds of things. I do find the controls awkward. Well, that went from being mostly successful, with the exception of Draven going down, to a major disaster. That tiger was unbelievably brutal. Watch out for the cat enemies in this game. They are hardcore. Do the guards have anything new to say? I heard there's a passage beyond the flames. Have you looked there? No, because it's behind flames that would burn us alive. There is a cavern in the northeast corner of the valley. True. The cathedral once had an extensive cellar. Yeah, it still does. I looted it. It's worth talking to the NPCs again to see what kind of new things they have to say, but let's get everybody revived first. The lizard men hate everyone. This is what I was talking about, how the plot in this game contradicts itself sometimes. We shouldn't even know the lizard men exist yet. Like, the whole next plot point of the game, which you can skip, but I'm not going to, is that you go to the swamp and meet with the lizard men, hoping that maybe you can ally with them. Spoiler alert, they want to kill you, like everything does. But why do the townsfolk know they exist already? We haven't even gone there yet. If you follow the river east, you will find the entrance to the Elven Realms. Like, this is endgame knowledge. How does everybody in the town know all this stuff when the whole point of our mission is we're supposed to be exploring? So this is quite interesting. Before, the priest was very happy to heal us up, but now he says, wow, you look a little beat up. I guess I'll heal you. This time. That's copping a bit of an attitude, considering that we're risking our lives and literally getting killed trying to save the town and help everybody out. And now, before we report in, we might as well go see if the shops have anything new and also sell some of that sweet loot, those magical weapons we don't need. So the weapon shop is now selling +1 swords and +1 daggers, as well as +1 spears. I could get the +1 dagger for Draven, and I might as well do that, I suppose. I probably don't ever want him being in a situation where he has to use it, but as long as it's there. So we were able to sell some items to get a decent amount of gold, but there wasn't anything worth buying at either of these shops. Do any of these folks have anything interesting to say now? I bet you feel pretty proud of yourselves. Ha! Someone told me that you found a great treasure. True, we've found quite a few of them, actually. I've heard there is a secret passage behind one of the waterfalls. Also true. Things aren't much better now. No, they sure aren't. This is a scroll shop, not a library. Pick what you want and pay for it. Okay, dude, calm down. He's not selling anything interesting yet. I need to get another level on Draven. He's really lagging at this point. Partly because he got killed there. Missed out on some experience as a result. Haven't you found an ally yet? So yeah, the townsfolk are starting to get pretty edgy. When you consider the situation, that's fairly understandable. Alright, let's report to the Duke. See what he has to say. I'm a little nervous about it. We're not bringing reports of allies. It is good that you have found a passage to another realm. Perhaps there you will find the aid I sent you for. Tarry no longer. You must make haste if you are to carry out your charter. I expect you to return with an army to aid me. I am afraid the people plan to revolt. Beware of that scheming Marmillion. I do not trust anyone anymore. Okay. So even the Duke is starting to sound pretty on edge. If we talk to Marmillion... I am so glad to see you all again. People here are becoming edgy. Yes, we noticed. It seems that all they do is bicker and snap. Even our well-mannered Duke seems a bit paranoid. Perhaps it is this infernal sun, or the feeling of imprisonment in this strange valley. I do hope you will find some allies soon. It may be just what the people need to lift their spirits. The artifacts from the Beastmen are patterned from items made by an ancient race known as the Azkans. It's amazing that art lost for centuries has remained unchanged in the Beastman culture. The creatures you describe are long extinct outside this valley. I feel like we're in a giant museum. I have an item that may help you past the tangled vines you found in the Beastman caves. It is a withered vine that repels normal vines. I only have one, so guard it well. Please hurry. I fear we haven't much time. So, I like Marmillion. He is a very helpful individual and also very clever. He alone is able to maintain his sanity and his equilibrium through everything that is occurring. With that said, though, like, why do we need a withered vine to get through those vines? It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Some of the plot points in this game are strange. Alright, well, we have our next objective. Very clear cut. Return to the Beastman caves and use the withered vine to go through the vines that for some reason were blocking our way. See what lies beyond, see if maybe we can find allies there. So that's going to be our next course of action. But that'll have to wait until next episode. Hopefully I'll see you for that, and have a good one, everybody.